Okay, this is episode 33. It's called Reimagining the Salon. So what is a salon anyway? I've got to turn this funk drummer up to remember. Okay, Reimagining the Salon. So there was something called the Age of Enlightenment in the early 17th century, in the 1600s in Paris. There were a bunch of affluent people, and they decided to be patrons of the arts. So they had a lot of parties. And they've invited artists and poets and musicians and painters, and everybody got dressed up and wore fancy stuff, drank a lot, and they called it the Age of Enlightenment. I don't know what they were enlightened about, but it happened a long time ago. We're talking about like almost 400 years ago. And these salons have been continuing on throughout other cities where there were prosperous people who wanted to dabble in the arts. And we are reimagining the salon. In the small town of Sheffield, we're going to do our minor league version of Paris. It might not be that minor league, though, considering that Sheffield is not that far from Boston or from New York City. So we've got a lot of the patron art people up here who have second homes. And a lot of them bought places here because they were culturally oriented. So we are reimagining the Age of Enlightenment coming to the Berkshires in the form of once-a-month events at Dewey Hall. And we're basically going to spend the month preparing creative things to show off, and then we're going to get together at the end of the month on the last Sunday, starting in 2.5 weeks in Dewey Hall. And we're going to show each other the cool stuff that we created. And instead of waiting for a bunch of rich people to host us, we decided to host ourselves by renting Dewey Hall and just declaring it a done deal. And we have entered the Age of Enlightenment, and we're doing our own salon, and we're calling it Berkshire's Culture. Now, this does a lot of things. For one, there are plenty of places to hear culture in this town. We got the Mahawi, we've got the new Indigo Room, we've got St. James, and what all of these places have in common is not a single one of them has any local musicians whatsoever, or local artists, or local videographers, because they're based on importing culture, and that's cool. Except that a lot of the people who live in this town can't afford the tickets to go to those things with the imported culture. So we're turning the whole thing upside down and saying we want to make cultural events in the Berkshires where the people who live in the Berkshires who are culturally oriented can afford to come and can express themselves. And why not do it in Dewey Hall? It's a 150-year-old hall. The Indigo Room is a few months old. And I know that they probably feel like they have more prestige, but I'm telling you, they don't. A 150-year-old Dewey Hall is a cooler place to play than the Indigo Room. And I know that people will be upset about me saying this. Hey, but I'm helping to reimagine the salon. Not as a bar, not as a hands politely folded in your lap thing. So here's the first thing we're going to do. We're making cafe-style seating. We're having a bunch of round tables. And we're having people walking around and playing and showing videos and having easels around the perimeter and paintings on the wall because we have painters and we have videographers. So we're doing a different thing. It's our connection to the 400-year-ago Age of Enlightenment. We're doing it in Dewey Hall. And we're thinking of sort of like dialogue as performance and participation. Where else are you going to get a contemporary digital videographer who's going to show some videos, and he's actually been on this show, Harvesting Infinity, And after he shows you his stuff, and by the way, we're having food. It's a potluck enlightenment salon. So it's food. So you walk around, you watch the videos, you eat some stuff. And then the artist gets up and he talks to the audience about what he did and why he did it. And he asks the audience, and what do you think? There's the dialogue. So here's the biggest difference between this and all of the other entertainment around here. It's 100% interactive. The musicians, one of them who was also on the show, David Crow, he wrote a piece recently for percussion and solo piano. He's going to come and present that piece, and then he's going to talk about, like, what does it mean to be a composer in the 21st century? It's like hard. So we're expecting a lot of audience participation, and since most of the people in the audience are also creators, they have a lot to say. So we are not presuming that the person on the stage knows more than everybody in the audience, which is usually the presumption in the delivery of arts. We're assuming that the people who live in Berkshire County are pretty cultured and pretty intelligent and have opinions and have a lot to say and want to be in dialogue. So what we're really shooting for here with this culture salon is to create community, not to create a distance between the presenters and the audience, because we are the audience, and the people in the audience around here are also the creators. So this is our take on reimagining the salon. By the way, this piece was called Minor Swing. It was written by Django Reinhardt in the 1920s in Paris. So this 100-year-old piece is an example of a culture salon.